Hi again, everybody. I just finished reading here Lindy Crace's chapter about Peace Jam, high school student activists that work for human rights. And I thought that it was a really interesting read. It seems like a phenomenal program. And the end of the reading did leave me with a lot more questions as well, but I'll get to those here at the end of the video. But the thing that stood out to me most was at the very end of the reading. Her one student, Alice, had made a comment about that her experience with Peace Jam left her feeling like she really wanted to make a difference in the world, and it left her feeling inspired. And I think that as teachers, that's all kind of why we go into the profession in the first place. We all know it's not for the money or the easy hours. We go into teaching because that's our goal, is to inspire the youth, be able to have that kind of impact on them that the IB pushes for, to make them want to be lifelong learners and internationally minded and globally minded. We want to push those traits upon students and to for Lindy and her coworker as well, Ashley Goodrich, for them to have found a program that seemed to have done that so successfully with students. I think that's a great thing that more schools, especially in this area, need to look into, considering the diversity that we have. But I thought that it was really good early on in the reading, how they took the time to differentiate between service learning and community service, which I think is oftentimes lumped into the same. I know, especially when it comes to things like the personal project or community project that I've heard talked about, sometimes people think just going and volunteering is enough, but there is a lot more to the whole process that goes into it. So it, like it's referenced in the reading, it involves investigation, planning, action, reflection, demonstration, and celebration. And Billig referenced that first on page 129. And that whole process there is really what brings it full circle to help develop all of those skills. And even just in reading that, investigation, inquires, planning, organization, action, that can be any number of things. It could be a critical thinking component, depending on what the action is. It can be, further investigating, information literacy, media literacy, and then reflection as well. Basically, when I was reading through that list there, it made me think of, wow, these are the ATLs that students are walking through as they're going through their service learning process. So I thought that was wonderful, and especially how this ties in with the whole Peace Jam idea ties in with recipients of the Peace Award, and ties in as well with Universal Declarations of Human Rights, and the child rights as well. So the fact that it has those universal social justice concepts already built into it, that's the whole premise of the program. So I really think that to further that and have students develop an own passion project of theirs through this program, it's really not much of a stress to get them involved in some kind of social justice, because the whole premise of this program is developed around that to begin with. In terms of the skills that these activities develop, like I said, I really think that it hones in a lot with the ATL. I would definitely say learner profile too. It hits on the risk takers, balanced, principled, open-minded, a lot of those, a lot of the traits and skills that we want students to go through as well. I did think that it was really interesting, even just the insights at the level of her students, especially Alice in the beginning of the reading. She compares her right to education, or in the Child Rights Article 28, about she takes a different approach to it. Typically, when I've been thinking about the right to a child's education, I'm thinking in terms of a government denying her, like with the Malala video, the Taliban denying women the right to education. It had never really occurred to me that poverty could be one of the factors contributing to a child not having that education. Whether it's that they have to drop out and get a second job to help their family, or whether it's that they feel like the system is not going to help them, or they fall behind at some point and feel like they can never catch up. Those were things that I had never really thought about as a relation to the article or the CRC. So I thought that was a really interesting approach to it and brought up. Also, as I was going through and reading, a few other questions kind of crossed my mind. And a lot of it's just based on my own personal experience with my schools that I've worked in, which have mostly been private schools. But it even mentioned at one point in the reading about a student having to come back and fight through the red tape of her local board to try and get release of the money. Our school has done a couple of really great projects in the past. However, because of current political climates and, accusations, not, sorry, I misspoke, not quite accusations, but when our school is funded by the Embassy of Saudi Arabia and when money is being sent overseas, especially like it was said in the article where it was a local man was taking this money to a village in India. The money was not really able to be tracked. And so for our school, something like that could happen. Our board says absolutely not. Our school is not allowed to do fundraising whatsoever unless the funds are staying directly within the school. So I would be really interested to see what kind of accommodations a program like this could offer a school like ours that has heavy restrictions on fundraising and on getting involved in the international community just because of political sensitivities. So, and I think that that's one of the problems too with students is that oftentimes, especially at a younger age, they are very motivated, they are very inspired, and they want to get involved, they want to make a difference. And I think that over time, whether it's teachers or administrators or board members or parents, I think that students kind of almost have that drilled out of them. They're told, it's not practical, it's not logical, logistically doesn't work, or that it's not allowed to do the kind of project that they want to do. And I think that over time, students kind of get discouraged from that. So to see that this is a program that is growing across the country, it's been in place for over 20 years. I think that that's an incredible resource to have. And I understand, it does cost money, it does have a fee to it. But I do really think that this program is something that could help kind of restore that confidence in our students that they do have power, they do have a voice, they can make a difference. So I had thought that that would all be really great if schools could get more involved in it. I was a little bit curious too, and I need to go read more up on the website. But just from reading the article there, it seemed like it's a course and a club at the school. And one of the things I couldn't really tell from the reading is how often does this course meet, or how often does the club meet? I know that when it said they had gone to one of the conferences, that they did fundraising for it. And I was just curious, again, kind of that logistic thing of how this school made it work when it came to fundraising for things. When it came to fundraising for all the different organizations that they wanted to support, all the different student initiatives, and the fundraising that goes with that. And then at the same time, within the same school and organization, trying to fundraise for their trips to go to these conferences. So I feel like that's like buku fundraising happening in this school. But it seems to have turned out amazing. It seems to have left some really lasting impacts on students. So there's just a couple of side thoughts that I had. If any of you have had experience working with this program, or if you've had experience working with anything similar, I'd love to get your feedback because I really would like to implement something like this within my own school, as long as we can get through the red tape and make sure that the administrative side of things is on board with something, because I really think that this is one of the best ways to get the IB profile across to students. Not only does it teach them, the ATL skills, the learner profile, it sets them up perfectly for a community project, and it also sets them up really well for a personal project. And then eventually, the extended essay, if they, when they get into the DP years. It teaches them kind of those lifelong skills of wanting to make an impact, of being an inquirer. What's the cause of, these different things, instead of just going and volunteering and helping, that reflective piece as well. So that's my thought here about one of our last readings. Can't believe the class is almost over with. But if any of you have any additional feedback, especially if you've worked with this organization in the past, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you.